Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of the all-new sports show presented by Roger G. Taylor and Associates. I'm Edward Green. Wes Bradshaw will be joining me at the desk momentarily for a big Week 4 of Big East Conference play to wrap up. We'll have more from our game, Fike versus Northern Nash, a big blowout for the Golden Demons. Of course, we'll be talking to the Rocky Mountain Telegram and the Wilson Times for more coverage of all 12 teams in our area. Of course, we'll be bringing you a Todd Gurley update a little better this week, 60 seconds of soccer, Bishop's Corner, and much, much more. This is the all-new sports show. Let's go. No kiddings.
Dogs coming on a blitz, a nice pickup. Green gets rid of it and caught on the deflection. Put 6 on the board, Knight fans. That is a touchdown.
And it is caught by number 20, Malik Williams, and he breaks free. He's going. One man to beat. It's a touchdown.
Hey.
Hello and welcome to the all-new sports show, brought each and every week by Roger G. Taylor and Associates. I'm Wes Bradshaw,
I'm Edward Green.
and we are your all-new sports show, sports team.
Sorry. That's all you got.
All right, folks, we're coming to you today after the penultimate week of Big East High School football.
What a week it was.
Folks, we have one to go, and no one knows what's going to happen. Everything is wide open in the air. There are conference championships to win, playoff berths to secure, seeding to improve or not improve upon.
Or fail.
Or fall on. So a lot of fun, exciting stuff still to head our way. And folks, we're going to have it coming up for you over the next hour here on the All New Sports Show. We've got a lot coming for you. First, folks, we do want to take a moment to thank our principal title sponsor, Roger G. Taylor and Associates, each and every week. That's the name that brings you the All New Sports Show. Also, folks, we do have our other sponsors. You see them crawling across your screen throughout the show. Please, if you get the chance, take time to support those sponsors because they are helping bring you the #1 rated high school sports football show in the Sunday night 8 o'clock time slot in Nash, Edgecombe, or Wilson County.
All three. We've finally taken the Triple Crown.
All three. It's only because of my immense popularity in Edgecombe County. But anyway.
Not so much in some parts of Nash County.
No, I have my detractors. All right, folks. There are many ways to get in touch with us, and Ed Green's going to tell you how right now.
There's a bunch. You can, of course, hit us up on Twitter at All New Sports Show. Facebook.com/All New Sports Show is our Facebook page. Go there and like our page, like our posts. Feel free to comment on them as well. Of course, you can also hit us up on Instagram, Instagram.com/All New Sports Show. You can find a bunch of pictures, especially we like to post little quick videos from our Friday night football games there. If you want more videos, though, you can go to YouTube.com/The All New Sports Show. That's our official YouTube channel. All our interviews, all our clips, all our plays of the week, even full episodes right there on demand, direct to you. And finally, you can email us allnewsportshow@gmail.com. If you don't like the computer stuff, why would you? You can, of course, mail us 1701 Sunset Avenue, Suite 201, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, 27804. And, of course, all of those will be coming along the bottom of your screen throughout the night in case you forget them. But no animals.
I feel there is a really big future for the post office. I think that's the next wave of great things here in the world.
Truly.
The United States Postal Service.
Brilliant.
It's amazing. All right, folks, on the show tonight, we're going to have a recap of our high school football game of the week. Fike, Northern Nash. There was a lot of build-up.
Yeah.
And that was about it. Yep. All right, folks, also coming up tonight from the Wilson Times, Jimmy Lewis going to be joining us via the phone. From the Rocky Mountain Telegram, Andrew Ivan's going to be talking to us. He was on hand last night for the big Rocky Mountain Southern Nash game, which was a great football game. Also included some off the field, a little bit of scary stuff that happened. So we're going to talk about that some. We're going to give you your most exciting minute of the week, 60 seconds of soccer. As Ed said earlier, we have you a Finally, a positive spin on the Todd Gurley update this week.
Yes.
So we're excited about that. Don't forget the Krispy Kreme hot play of the game. I'm so getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited about this show.
You've had some Krispy Kreme coffee, obviously.
Oh, I don't even drink coffee, but I have been mainlining it into my veins. And, of course, a big Bishop's Corner as the Battling Bishops football season is in the home stretch. Only a few more weeks to go. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But, Ed, we start off just a night ago. We made the trip down to Buddy Bedgood Stadium, home of the Fight Golden Demons, the preseason favorites to win the Big East Conference. Hadn't really looked like it maybe the last few weeks, but last night they do look like it as they take Northern Nash out behind the shed on Halloween Havoc, and they do some really, really, really bad things to the Knights. Final score, 43-7 Fike over Northern Nash, and truthfully don't even think it was that close.
No, not really. I think in previous games, especially in the Rocky Mount game, we showed that Fike had the heart of a champion. Well, against Northern Nash on Friday night, they had played with the talent of a champion.
That's right.
This is the first time we've really seen that in Big East play this year, and man, did they come out swinging against Northern. 43-7, doubled them up in first downs, and really, again, that's with a running clock for a good portion of the second half, and your B team in there as well. 243 yards rushing, 146 yards passing, 13 of 19 passing.
DJ Daniels is great.
Video game numbers, man. Only punted twice on the night did Fike. It was 35-0 at the half. And Wes, I think as great as Fike looked, and man, they just looked, I think you remarked a few times last night, they were playing 7-on-7 football, basically. As great as they looked, man, did Northern not look competitive in that football game.
Well, the key to that whole game came down to the fact that Northern Nash front could not get any pressure on DJ Daniels.
Never, ever.
He had plenty of time to sit in the pocket. There was one time I think we just started waxing poetic about something else just while he was sitting in the pocket looking for a throw. When you can't pressure a quarterback who can throw it and can run and beat you with his feet, you're up the creek without a paddle.
Certainly.
I mean, it's bad news for you. And last night it spelled doom for the Knights of Northern Nash. They could not touch DJ Daniels. You'll hear from him a little later as our Telco Credit Union player of the game. But just take a look at that Fike offense. What we saw last night, the balance. 243 yards rushing, 146 yards through the air. It was a mix of Daniels, Anthony Evans, and A.J. Hines, the three-headed monster for Fike. And those guys got it done, and they got it done pretty easily, which surprised us, I think, about that Northern defense, who is known as being a hard-nosed, tough, punch-in-the-mouth defense.
Certainly, even against, when we saw them a couple weeks ago, Southern, it took them a while for it, unfortunately, to become a bit of a blowout. They were actually hung in there very well for most of the first half against a very good Southern Nash offense. But I think somebody commented to us after the game, from the moment they got off the bus, Northern just didn't look like they wanted to be there. If there's one hesitant thing about Fike, and granted a few of these did, again, come with the B team in there, 10 penalties for 75 yards on the night. If there was a sticking point on the night, something Tom Nelson can use the hairdryer on them in film study, it's going to be those penalties.
Doesn't that just kind of seem to be a running trend this year in the Big East Conference?
Sort of.
Especially among your top teams.
Yeah.
Rocky Mount, horrible with the penalties. Fike, horrible with the penalties. Southern Nash, horrible with the penalties. Hunt, not good with the penalties.
Nope.
That's pretty much your top four right now, and all those just scare you to death when it comes to penalty yards. 10 penalties on the night for Fike. Some false starts, a few unsportsmanlike conducts. I think there was a pass interference in there somewhere. Just some things that weren't great. But once again, when you're up 35-0 at halftime and Northern Nash cannot breathe, I mean, you're pretty much doing what you need to do. And when you take a look at it, the guy who made the biggest difference in the game, neither of us picked him for the Pappy Smooth Player of the Week.
No.
But I think he was definitely on our minds.
He was very
I mean, he was very much on your mind.
Yes. We like to step outside the box sometime in our Pappy Van Winkle Smooth Player of the Week.
Exactly. But this week he did step up. He took the reins of this Fike attack, and he basically said from the start of it, we're going to win this football game. We're going to win it going away, and I'm going to be the one to do it.
That may have been the longest sentence he said all night.
Absolutely. You're going to see it right now. He was our Telco Credit Union player of the game. He was Fike junior quarterback DJ Daniels, and you're going to see his interview right now here on the All New Sports Show. Buddy Big Good Stadium post game. We are here and we are with this week's Telco Credit Union player of the game, DJ Daniels, junior quarterback for the Fight Golden Demons. DJ, I've just got to imagine that you guys had a pretty tough week of practice. After last week, you skirt out there out of Rocky Mount with a win. This week you guys went ahead and took care of business quickly. What was the mindset of the Fight Golden Demons this week?
We had to get our focus back and review everything we did good and everything we do bad and just execute. Yes, sir.
DJ, after coming off that first loss of the season to Southern Nash, you guys have responded positively. What's been the difference after that game?
It's a mind thing. You know, once you come off a loss, you want to keep winning. You don't want to lose again. So we just get our focus back, play football the way we always play.
DJ, at this point, we do not have a final outcome from Rocky Mount Southern Nash. But either way, you guys go into next week pretty much controlling your own destiny. You can come out with the share of the Big East title. A year ago on this very field, we saw that game, and it was an absolute thriller. You guys came out on the wrong end. You know, now that you've been in that big game environment, how do you think this week with Hunt coming up is going to be?
I mean, we don't want to get in all the hype. We're trying to play our football and do what we always do.
What would it mean to you to go out there next week and win a conference title?
I mean, we're gonna be happy and stuff. We want to get a good seed in the playoffs and go deep in the playoffs. Yes, sir.
Oh, this is DJ Daniels. He's a junior quarterback here at Fike. Right now, holds one offer. It's a Boston College offer,
Not
folks.
bad.
So that's an ACC school. That's really good. I expect more to come in before the time is ready for him to make a decision, which he's still got a ways to go on that. Enjoy the process, young man. Folks, DJ Daniels, this week's Telco Credit Union player of the game, and let's send it back to the All New Sports Show studio. That was quick.
Yes.
DJ Daniels.
Efficient. Efficient like he was on the night passing.
DJ Daniels did his talking on the field.
Yes, he did.
He did it with his leg and with his arm. He is your Telco Credit Union player of the game. Ed, heading to the other side of the ball now. The Fight defense, absolutely dominant on the ball.
Stout. Very stout.
They were dominant. The Northern Nash offense could get nothing going. And for what it was, Fight, even when Northern did get something going, Fight was able to make big plays.
Yeah, 3 interceptions on the night of quarterback Jacob Green. I think one of the ones, the drive that started the second half for Northern, which you might see the end of it later. Of course, it looks like they're driving. They're running the ball really well. Jacob Green is running the ball really well out of the shotgun formation. He's hitting passes. Mm-hmm. He's doing well. They convert on a 4th down. They have a 2nd and goal. Pick. Return it about 40 yards.
That was Reed Harris.
I feel like Northern should not be this bad offensively, and yet nothing I've seen from them this year has led me to believe that they are a good offensive side.
Randy Raber football teams are built on the line.
Yep.
Northern's line just isn't good.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot else for me to say there. Their line is just not up to par with what Randy Raber wants to do. They want to run the I formation. Yes, they want to spread in a little bit of spread. You do want to throw the football. Something you like being able to be multiple as Southern Nash. That's what makes you a very dangerous football team. But at the base of it, Randy Raber wants to be able to effectively run the football, and he wants to physically run the football. Mm-hmm. He wants to do it with his running backs. Yeah. He wants to do it out of an I formation with a fullback and a good offensive line. Offensive line is not getting it done. And last night, I mean, it was all there. Look at the numbers. The numbers tell the story.
66 yards rushing.
And now, of course, when you get down in a ball game, you are forced to throw the ball more. But Northern cannot establish the run because they're not an explosive offense. Mm-hmm. If they cannot establish the run, they're not going to be able to go out and win football games.
No, and I don't think they have the horses right now either. You talk about the line. I think if you want to run it out of that I formation, you need to have a power runner. And I don't see right now a guy on Northern Nash's roster who's getting carries that would be classified as that kind of power runner who can just churn up yards. We saw Quan Whitaker a lot. Mm-hmm. He's a much lighter back. He has some mm-hmm. good speed in him, but he's just not that guy. And that's not his fault. He's not. And I don't think that guy really exists right now for Northern.
If he does, he's not on the varsity football
No.
team. The JVs have not been overly impressive this year. You hear a lot from the Northern Nash base how, well, just wait till you see what Red Oaks got coming.
Yeah.
I've heard that for a while, but time to see it on the field. I do believe year 3 of the Randy Raper run, you should see more improvement. Here's the thing. You have seen improvement from Northern this year.
Certainly.
5 wins. I mean, 5 wins. That's the best Northern's had in about 4 or 5 seasons. They have shown improvement. Last night, though, unfortunately under the big lights twice this year, the All New Sports Show, and the Friday night game of the week, we haven't really seen it.
Yes.
We've seen them basically be taken to the woodshed twice. Of course, we will see them next week against Rocky Mount. But when it came down to it, interceptions last night, LeVar Spate, Bo Sharp, Reed Harris, all coming up with big interceptions for Fike that stifled Northern Nash when they were really trying to get something going. That was the difference in the game. It was the Fike defense. Yes, the offense put up the points, ran away with it, but the Fike defense was stifling. Literally, Northern scored late in the ball game to preserve not being shut out. But ultimately, the Fight defense got the job done. And the man behind everything, Tom Nelson, head coach of the Fight Golden Demons, gracious enough to give us a few minutes after the ball game last night. Let's head one more time out to Buddy Bedgood Stadium, where we talked with Fight victorious head coach Tom Nelson. And folks, welcome you back on the field here at Buddy Bedgood Stadium, and we are with tonight's victorious coach, Fight head coach Tom Nelson. Just seems like we've done this recently with each other. Of course, just a week ago. And, Coach, what a difference a week makes. A week ago, you had to get a goal with 4 seconds left to get out on a road win. Tonight, you had this one pretty much put away halfway through the first quarter. We talked to your quarterback, DJ Daniels. A man of few words, but he said you guys were focused all week at practice. You had a good, solid week. Is that your assessment of it?
It is. Yes, we had a great week of practice, and we knew that we had 2 weeks of conference championship games, and that we needed to come out focused and ready to play. And I thought we did a great job offensively, taking care of the football. We threw the ball effectively tonight, and I thought our defense played very good.
We'll talk about that defense because you guys did a great job of shutting out Northern Nash for most of the night. What were you guys seeing, and what were you able to key on?
Well, nothing in particular. I think our defensive coaches did a great job of game planning and getting our kids in the right position. And they just went out and executed and made plays. We tackled and we gang tackled and ran into football, and that's the key.
Coach, a year ago at this point of the season, you were undefeated. Hunt was coming to basically play for the conference championship. Here we are today. You do have one loss, but pretty much so does everybody else. You're going to Hunt with a chance for the conference championship. Do you think your guys, maybe a year on with that big game experience, do you think that could play an effect for you this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think that they've played in a bunch of big games now, and that's not going to be a big deal. There's going to be a big crowd there next week, and it's going to be very exciting, and it's going to be everything you want in high school football. And I think our kids are going to go over there and play very well.
I asked DJ this question, I'll ask you too. What would it mean for you guys to go back now to Hunt and win a conference title?
Well, it would mean everything, because that has been our focus since last January when we started lifting weights and running and working out. That's been our goal, to get back to this point and to be able to go over there in a position to win a county championship, a conference championship, and then move on into the playoffs.
Folks, he's Coach Tom Nelson. He is sitting 3-1 now in the Big East Conference. A chance next week they will play for, at the very least, a share of the Big East Conference Championship. And it's the big one. It's Hunt Fight. You don't get any bigger in Wilson County. It's going to be a great ball game next week. Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Folks, we're going to send it now back to the All New Sports Show studios.
Georgia Southern's really good.
State did play him, actually.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Big thanks to head coach Tom Nelson giving us a few minutes. Tom Nelson's always kind of our tough coach to try to get up with in the offseason, but he's gotten to talk to us the last 2 weeks, and he's starting to take a shine to us because he's kind of realized, when these guys come and I win a football game and get interviewed, it's good to get interviewed.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right. And folks, speaking to a guy who goes to football games, gets the interview, and wins every week, folks, we welcome back to the All New Sports Show, good friend of the pod from the Wilson Times, Jimmy Lewis. Jimmy, what's up?
We're a pod now.
Hey, Wes, what's up, man?
Not
This
too.
is a pod.
Sure,
whatever.
This is now a podcast, everyone.
Show/pod, whatever.
Hi.
Darn you, men in blazers! You messed me up once again.
But you know what? You know what didn't mess up on Friday night, Wes?
Farmville Central.
Oh, is that where we wanted to go?
Well, sure. Let's start
Okay, yeah. Farmville Central didn't mess up a whole lot. I was going to say Hunt. They didn't really mess up either. But Farmville Central destroys Beddingfield, a team both Wes and I thought would be pretty good this year.
Blame the injuries.
Yeah, well, that's what we'll keep doing. Blood them in. 55-0, Farmville Central defeats Beddingfield. Jimmy, what happened?
Well, first of all, senior quarterback Kavaje Ellis, after suffering that back injury against Washington, he didn't go, and linebacker Corey Farmer, also a senior, didn't go on the defensive side. So the Bruins are really missing their emotional leaders, not only on offense, but defense as well. But that said, I mean, Beddingfield really came out and shot themselves in the foot early. They had a mishandled snap that lost 16 yards on their first possession. Farmville Central scores on 7 of 8 possessions in the first half to roll a 49-0 lead there at halftime. Run the clock in the second half. 2 interceptions from Beddingfield, a lost fumble. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong for them, but with Kavaje Ellis out, probably the best playmaker in Wilson County when he's on the field and healthy. Beddingfield looked like half a team out there, and that's what Tyrone Johnson said after the game. And Beddingfield, they didn't look like themselves, and it just was not a good night for the Bruins over in Farmville.
And Jimmy, one stat that really jumps out to me, even though they did have a depleted roster, Beddingfield on the night has 2 yards rushing. That's, to me, they did throw it 27 times, and I know they got down early and had to kind of throw the ball to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 yards rushing to me is just absurd.
It is, and Devontae Cherry, who starts at running back when Kavaje's in there, he started at quarterback, and he ran the ball a little bit on some sweeps and things like that. You have to figure in the 16-yard loss on the punt when thinking about those 2 rushing yards, but they really could not get anything going on the ground. I thought with Kavaje out, they might try to focus on the run a little more, but ultimately they do put it in the air 27 times. DeMonte throws the ball, 2 interceptions from him. Lamont Morgan gets in there, and he has an opportunity to throw the ball a little bit. But coming into this game with a depleted roster, I was hoping that Beddingfield would try to control the clock and grind some things out, and that just did not happen.
And, Jimmy, where does this leave Beddingfield in their playoff hopes?
It's pretty much flickering right now. You have to finish in the top 3 in your conference to be assured of a playoff spot, and outside of that, it's depending on if the High School Athletic Association can field the playoffs with teams in the top 3 from conferences. Mm-hmm. If Beddingfield harbors any aspirations of making the playoffs, they will obviously need to defeat Southwest Edgecombe this Thursday night, and even then, it may not be enough to get them in. But
especially
after what we saw last night, it's really going to be a tough road to hoe for them. I don't know if they can turn around and beat Southwest this Thursday.
Well, especially the way Southwest Edgecombe is playing at this point. That's a team that's really hit their stride, and they're playing pretty much their best football of the season. Jimmy, let's get back into town a little bit in Wilson. Of course, we were at the Fight Northern Nash game, so we've already talked about that. We'll get into that a little bit with you. But the other Big East team in action last night, Hunt was the big favorite, and they went to Nash Central and did exactly what they had to do. They won the ball game 28-0. I'm not going to say there's very much to add to that at this point. So let's just talk about this. For the second consecutive year, Hunt Fike it's the game of the week. You know, when those two show up to each other, it's the game of the week. It's the game of the year. It's going to have a big say in deciding the Big East Championship. Both of them 3-1 coming into this. Of course, Southern Nash at 3-1. They are the one team. Well, they and Fike both control their own destiny. Southern and Hunt.
Southern and Hunt, yeah.
Southern and Hunt, that's right, okay.
Fike does not control
That's right. Fike does not control their destiny. Southern and Hunt do. Let's talk about Hunt Fike. What's the very early buzz going around Wilson?
Well, at the start of the season, the hope was that both teams would be undefeated, and this game would once again be for the outright Big East Conference Championship, as it was last year. But Southern Nash made sure in Week 1 of the Big East schedule to throw a little wrench into those plans. So it will not be for the outright Big East championship. What will likely happen is Southern Nash has Nash Central next week to close the conference season. As we all know, Nash Central is definitely the cure for what ails you. So if Southern Nash most likely share the championship with Hunt Fike winner, but expect another big crowd out there. I mean, especially with the resurgence of Fike these last couple of years, the buzz has really picked back up over this game. I really think both schools will bring a large contingent to Warrior Stadium. So expect a packed house, expect an emotional football game, given the stakes, because the Big East championship, or at least a share of it, will be at stake.
And Jimmy, something we talked to Tom Nelson about a season ago, you know, those Fike kids, as talented as they were, that was really the first big game that those kids had played. They had not been to the playoffs in a while. And then suddenly here they are, undefeated last game of the year, playing the Big Bad Wolf, which was Hunt High School, and they lose it in double overtime. Do you think those guys tasting that loss last season and then going into the playoffs and playing a few playoff games, do you think that may give them the edge going in this year, going over to Hunt?
I really do, because Fike has been in some big games this year as well. That loss to Southern Nash was tough, but you can definitely chalk that up as a big game that could have went either way there. And then at Rocky Mount, they drive down the field late and get the field goal from Tanner McCarthy. That's another big game they've been in. As you said, they made a deep run in the playoffs, lost a tough game to Douglas Byrd last year to end their season. So the Fike team that did not have big game experience last year, they entered this game with Hunt with a few more significant games under their belt. I think they are a little more battle tested, and I would give Fike the early edge here over Hunt next week.
All right, well, folks, you heard it there first. The big pick, Jimmy Lewis, going with Fike. There's no changing it. He has said that Hunt is dead. The dynasty is over. Oh wait, maybe that's just me. My bad.
Never count Hunt out, but I'm going to go with Fike.
Well, Ed has just about guaranteed me that Hunt will win this week.
I told him Friday night.
To completely spoil my narrative.
I told him Friday night. I said as soon as we found out Southern won, I said that's it. It's all setting up for Hunt again. Hunt is somehow going to win the Big East somehow, some way.
You're right about that. We'll see. Jimmy, man, thanks so much for hopping on with us, and hopefully we'll maybe get a chance to talk with you again next week.
All right, no problem. Take care.
Have a good one, bud.
All right.
There's Jimmy Lewis, Wilson Times sports reporter. He was on scene last night for the beat 'em down that was Beddingfield, Farmville Central.
Right.
But he got some good commentary in on this week's coming up Hunt Fight game. Folks, don't forget later in the show, Ed and I are going to flip something and decide who's going
This
where.
table.
My water's up here. But we're going to decide who's going where next week, what game is going to be covered by who. It is 2 Christmases coming up in a week. Yeehaw. All right, folks, but after Jimmy Lewis, big thanks once again to Jimmy, we are going to take a commercial break. So, folks, stick around. We'll be right back with more of the All New Sports Show, brought to you each and every week by Roger G. Taylor and Associates, right here on WHIG TV.
The new place is perfect, or at least it will be, with a little help from Dex. In the book or at DexKnows.com. Dex can help you get results fast and deliver the best local advice so you can get it done right here, right now.
We should do this more often.
Dex, results for the here and now.
Good day, Eastern Carolina. It's Mike Keffer at Mike Keffer Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on the 301 bypass between Rocky Mount and Wilson. I'm a truck driving man. The Great American Drive event is happening on all new Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram trucks. It's hunting season. No better time to trade up to a new Ram, whether you prefer gas-sipping 6-cylinder, Hemi, Eco Diesel, or heavy-duty Rocky Mount built Cummins diesel. Ram truck is the new dog on the hunt. Hunt one up in Rocky Mount at 855 by Keffer or online at mikekeffer.com.
Hi.
Hey folks, we're back on the all new sports show. Andrew Ivan's phone might die, so we're going to jump right into your most exciting minute of the week, 60 seconds of soccer.
The team who came back from the dead.
Brandon was so happy in that picture.
All right, folks, we're going to cut this one short this week. Ed, minute on the clock?
Yeah, it's running.
I'll start. Liverpool. Really? Freaking really? Newcastle?
They're good.
Somebody freaking sell Balotelli. We're soft. Forget it. Your turn.
Chateau Neuf. They're doing much better.
Hate the French.
Hey, we're now. Spurs don't look quite as bad now as losing to Newcastle last week. Newcastle has won 3 games on the trot to City, Spurs, and Liverpool now. Of course, there's also big news coming out this week in U.S. men's national team. Jurgen, not happy with the progress some of the players have made in past friendlies, calling out a few people, and unfortunately, not too happy with it, but he does love Robbie Keane. Oh, does Jurgen Klinsmann love Robbie Keane? I love Robbie Keane too.
Former Liverpool striker. We sold him back for half of what we bought him for, much like we need to do
But
with
he's gonna work.
Balotelli.
He's gonna work. Hey, is Napoli still on the phone?
God, I hope so. I'd give them money to take him now.
Stevie G.
Take him with you. Oh, that was horrible, wasn't it? Never thought you'd hear that out of my mouth, did you?
No, you're really bitter.
I'm very unhappy today. East Carolina didn't help. Folks, join us now from the Rocky Mountain Telegram. We're going to get as much of them as we can until his phone dies. Sports writer Andrew Ivans. Andrew Ivans, welcome back to the All New Sports Show.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Great. Let's just jump right into
super.
it. Southern Nash, Rocky Mount. It was an exciting game. Crazy things happened. Tell us about it.
Crazy is an understatement. It was an interesting one. I'm sure, as most people are aware, Coach Brian Foster collapsed early in the fourth quarter on the sidelines. At the time, no one really knew what happened. Looks like it was just a case where he had some high blood pressure, was taken to a nearby hospital, was never admitted, but was, I guess, released. I don't know how that really works, but he went to the hospital for precautionary reasons and left around midnight. But after he left, the game went on, and his son, Zach Foster, stayed in the game, and he broke a 21-21 tie with leading a drive that ended with a Grant Jones 44-yard touchdown run. And now Southern Nash is really in the driver's seat here when it comes to the Big East Conference.
A lot of emotion in this ball game. Rocky Mount coming in this past week at Senior High has been a tough one. The death of Rocky Mount athlete Tiara Hinton early in the week was killed in a car crash. So that already had the Rocky Mount program, kind of under a dark cloud, especially of sadness. And then this whole Brian Foster deal going down during the game. In your story, you talk about after the game that Jason Battle actually addressed both teams, which is highly unusual in the high school game. Just give us a little bit about that.
It was one of those moments in sports where it really didn't matter what colored uniform you were wearing. There was just a lot of emotion. Rocky Mount, they had a chance to win that game. Penalties again cost them. And then, Southern Nash won that. But everyone was, they did a team prayer together, and I thought it was a class act by Jason Battle to step in there and kind of, take charge. I mean, Southern Nash's staff, you never prepare for a coach to go down, so it was kind of, they were really spread out, and Brian Batchelor, I believe, was acting as the interim coach. I'm not even sure there was an interim body in place, but it was a moment where you had to be there, and I really tried to capture it as much as I could. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to Zach Foster after that whole thing, I asked him one question. He broke down in tears, which was emotional, but thankfully spoke with people close to Foster this morning, and everything seems to be checking out. But an emotional time for, like you said, both programs, because Rocky Mountain did have a player who was in that car with Tiara Hinton, Jacquez Johnson, and he did not play on Friday night.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely for both of those programs, everyone just keep both of them in your thoughts for the upcoming week, because this is not something that is just a one-week thing and done. No. So real interesting coming up. Southern Nash, of course, they control their own destiny pretty much. if they can go to Nash Central and get a win, coupled with a Fike win, let's figure all this out. Yeah, coupled with a Fike win, then Southern Nash is going to be conference champs.
Right. Everyone at Southern Nash right now is the biggest Wilson Fike fans. And so, yeah, I mean, they can only take care of business, but yeah, it's an easy path. They just got to beat Nash Central. I think Fike will beat Hunt. But hey, anything could happen. That's a rivalry game. So, that's why they play the game. We'll see how it goes.
As crazy as it was last night, we were the ones updating everyone via your Twitter, updating everyone at the Fike Northern Nash game, and they were all the biggest Rocky Mount fans I'd ever seen from Wilson in my life. So, it's funny this time of the year you find yourself pulling for teams that you traditionally despise their site.
Hey, Andrew, talk to us a little bit about what's going on though in Edgecombe County. North Edgecombe getting up a big win, setting up a showdown with Tarboro coming up this final week of the regular season.
Yeah, I spoke with Coach Jeff Craddock today of Tarboro, and his team posted a shutout for the first time in 11 games last night, and he didn't even want to talk about that. The focus was all on North Edgecombe. He couldn't even speak about how the magnitude of this game. It's going to be the biggest in a while. Obviously, the Two Rivers Conference will be on the line, the championship. So it's pretty cool that we have a de facto rivalry game, in county championship game. I mean, you can't really draw it up much better than that. So it'll be interesting.
Another Edgecombe derby.
Oh, absolutely the biggest of the Edgecombe derbies this year. Taking a look over at Southwest Edgecombe, that's a team that has really just hit their stride right now. And unfortunately for them, they had to play Washington early in the conference season because right now that would probably be an absolute whale of a football game. But just talk a little bit about Southwest going into this last week of the season.
Yeah, Southwest just seems to be getting better and better each week, really. I mean, they took care of business against North Johnston, but, they're on the outside looking in when it comes to the conference race, but this is a team that can get dangerous once the playoffs roll around. Like you said, it seems like they're getting better and better each week.
And speaking of a dangerous team in the playoffs, playoffs actually started last night, and pretty much they did what they thought they would do. They are who we thought they were.
Yes.
And that is the Eagles of Rocky Mount Academy. B.W. Holt and his group looking for their second consecutive 8-man state football championship. And Lawrence felt their wrath last night. That was the game we thought we were going to get. Let's take a look coming up this week. St. David's coming to Rocky Mount Academy. What's it looking like for the Eagles this week and then maybe into the next week?
I just think they're going to keep rolling along here. I mean, this team just seems to be on a force to be reckoned with. Jacob Hunter in the backfield, and they just keep scoring at will. So I fully expect them to move on and keep advancing in the playoffs, probably all the way to the state title game.
All right. Andrew Ivins, I guess the last thing we'll just end with real quick, Miami, North Carolina. South Florida owning and representing, right, Andrew?
Yeah, of course. Hey, and I want to also point out, you were talking about how all of the Fight fans were like Rocky Mount fans. It's almost like World Cup play, group play. Everyone cheers for everyone while there's another game going on.
Very much so. Crazy stuff going on, and that's what happens this time of the year. You need help from your old enemies.
Yes.
Anyway, Andrew, man, thanks so much for hopping on with us today. We'll get you off just before that phone dies, and man, we will. I'm sure somebody will see you next week at Rocky Mount Northern.
Yes, I will see someone there.
There we go. All right, brother.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good one.
Man.
All right, bye.
It's Andrew Ivins from the Rocky Mount Telegram, giving you the quick lowdown on Nash County, Edgecombe County football. As we said, folks, huge week coming up. And right now, we're going to take a look at next week coming up. Ed, let's start in that Two Rivers 1A conference. Let's start with Rocky Mount Prep. And just talk about, it's probably, actually in 1A football, you never know what's going to get you in the playoffs. You got to assume that's going to be the end of their season.
Yeah, they will be taking on Northampton County at home, taking a loss to Riverside Martin. That was their 5th straight loss on the season. They do have 2 wins on the year.
Kippers!
Thank you.
I love the Kippers.
They are going to be playing them with a chance to try and get their first conference win of the year. Of course, Northampton, also a very good side. Maybe to get a win against.
Not against Tarboro.
Yeah, not against Tarboro, but maybe for Rocky Mount Prep, this could be a good game. Northampton, is actually going to also come into this game at 2-8 after they also got shut out by Tarboro. So that could set up a scenario where someone's going to get their first conference win and third win of the year.
Somebody has to win.
Somebody has to win.
That's how we're going to leave it.
Sorry.
Because there is a pretty big game going on in Edgecombe County next week.
The other one is North Edgecombe at Tarboro. That will be for the conference title. Right now, both teams at 4-0. North Edgecombe 8-2 overall. Tarboro 7-3 overall. Both undefeated in conference play. North Edgecombe hasn't lost since going to Princeton back early in the non-con schedule.
It's not a bad one either with Johnny Football down there.
Not at all. And Tarboro hasn't lost since going to Southern Nash in a game we actually did. And man, now the way Southern Nash is playing, they've lost to Southern. Roanoke Rapids, maybe a little surprising.
Roanoke Rapids actually won their conference.
There you go. And Washington. Yeah,
they're winning their conference.
So
they could have 3 losses to 3 conference title winners. If they lose to North Edgecombe, they'll lose 4 games. They'll all be to someone who won their conference.
Yes, exactly.
So, you cancan't really downgrade at all the Tarboro schedule, which that's what Jeff Cray always talked about, was wanting the schedule. That is massive. Tarboro North Edgecombe has been a non-conference game for years. It has never truly meant that much other than just some bragging rights. This year it means everything for the first time. I'm not going to say the first time ever because I don't know everybody's old-time conference affiliations. First time that I can remember. This one means everything. This is what you want last game of the year. That is a massive game. I expect it to be packed out at Tarboro on Friday night. Take a look now into the 2A, the Eastern Plains Conference. We talked a little bit with Jimmy Lewis. Beddingfield, they are literally hanging by their fingernails, trying to claw their way into the playoffs. And they're facing a Southwest Edgecombe team that, as we said, was playing their best football this season. So that's our 2 area teams going to match up on Friday night.
And not only that,
Thursday night. Maybe we need to.
November 7th?
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Well, not only that, but I believe to get a wild card spot, I believe you do need 5 wins, correct?
You don't have to. I think 5 wins kind of is like an automatic qualifier for the playoffs.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that. They change the rules every year.
Okay, that's fine. But right now, in case that is in play, Beddingfield is right now at 4-6 overall. So would need to win against Southwest Edgecombe at home to get to that 5th win.
I think a win would pretty much get them in.
And it would make them 2-3. Right now, they sit in next to last place in the Eastern Plains. You never know. Farmville Central, currently they're at 2-2 after beating Beddingfield. They have to go to North Pitt. North Pitt, who's right now, they're also at 2-2. So you never know there. Beddingfield could win their way back into the discussion. But, man, and, of course, Washington's going to get South Johnston. So they're going to finish North Johnston. They're going to finish conference play undefeated. Bedingfield, Southwest Edgecombe, that is a huge game now. Bedingfield can finish second.
Bedingfield, though, as Jimmy Lewis told us earlier, they have massive injury issues right now. If Kavaje Ellis is injured, they're not going to win that football game.
No.
They're not going to stay in that football game if Kavaje Ellis is injured. He is still, to me, the best quarterback in the area. And that includes DJ Daniels, who I've been extremely impressed with the last 2 weeks of seeing him. He's a future D1 quarterback. To me, though, Kavaje Ellis is the rudder, he is the engine, he is everything that makes Bedingfield go. And I think he's just an underrated stud of a ball player. So that'll be the fun one to keep your eye on. And then, Ed, the Big East Conference, which we said someone who wins the Big East this year will have a loss.
Yes.
We're right on that end. But the Big East Conference coming down to the last week of the season. 3 teams with 1 loss. Someone is definitely going to end with 2 losses. The best case scenario anyone can hope for is to come out of the Wilson game.
Yes.
You win that game and hope Nash Central can upset Southern Nash, and then you win the conference. That is the only way to outright win the conference. Is going to be one of the 2 Wilson teams. But there are scenarios in place. Let's talk about those scenarios.
Sure.
Let's start with Hunt Fike.
Those 2 teams will be playing each other at Hunt this Friday night. Going to be huge. If Hunt wins, they are your Big East champions.
That's right.
Period. The end. They win.
Even though they will be,
they could be tied with Southern.
They could be tied as co-champions.
They will be the number 1 seed.
They'll be recognized as the number 1 seed coming out of that.
If Fike wins, they can be no worse than the number 2. With a Southern Nash loss, which is not going to happen, I would imagine.
That's what we said last year, and Central took Southern to the death.
To the brink, yeah.
To the brink.
To the brink. But so that Fike, with a win, would do no worse than number 2.
right.
Could get to number 1 with a Southern loss.
That's right.
So let's quickly go then to Southern. They will be at Nash Central.
That's right.
With a win and a Fike win, Southern Nash will be your number 1 seed. As long as they win, which most likely they will, I don't believe they can be any worse than the number 2.
Correct.
So Southern, really good. And certainly all 3 of those teams look to have almost clinched a playoff spot. Southern mostly has, just because they'll be playing Nash Central and probably will get a win.
That's right.
But Hunt Fike, one of those will most likely finish 2-3. However, Rocky Mount could throw a cog in there.
And Rocky Mount, the one they could hurt would be Hunt.
Yes.
If Hunt loses and Rocky Mount beats Northern Nash, suddenly Rocky Mount's going to jump into that 3 spot. Hunt's going to drop into that 4 spot based on the head-to-head. The other 2, both Fike and Southern Nash, both hold head-to-head wins over Rocky Mount. So the best Rocky Mount can finish in this conference is 3rd. Northern Nash with a win.
Yes.
The fun gets crazier because then they're going to jump Rocky Mount based on the head-to-head.
Yes, and they both be 2 and 3 in conference
Exactly.
play. And yes, like you said, because of head-to-head. So then Northern, the best they can hope for is
It's
4th.
That's right.
Which is also not an automatic bid for the Big East.
Nope.
But man,
that would be 6 wins for Northern.
Yes,
though.
it would
so
be
they
6 wins.
They should be fine to get in at that point.
But man, if you're Rocky Mount, then
if you're Rocky Mount, I still believe that right now those top 4 in the Big East are going to get in the playoffs. And I still believe even with a loss, there's going to be a chance Northern Nash gets into the playoffs. When you start putting basically 64 teams into the playoffs just from the East, because you're 1A and 1AA, you know, when you've got 32 Eastern teams having to make the playoffs, it's going to be hard to keep 5-win teams out somewhere. Now, it might mean that you're a 13 or a 14 seed and you're heading on a nice road trip in game 1. Triton. Ooh, Griffons would take that, I think. But I do believe the top 4 definitely get in from the Big East, and I still believe Northern Nash has a good chance to get in as well.
Can Rocky Mount play Triton again in the first round? Do they make sure, because Triton and Rocky Mount have played in the regular season?
No, they don't worry about that.
Okay.
And I believe they're done with the pod system. Once again, they change this crap every year. They're done with the pod system, so I think you can actually play legitimate first-round games, and you don't have to play somebody within 5 miles of your school anymore.
Yes. And
so maybe the entire Big East won't cannibalize each other in the first week of the playoffs.
We do have to work. We do have to wait on the numbers of enrollment, though. Of course, that will determine AA between the single A.
Of course, if you look at last year, why do I want to say everyone last year was in AA? No. Maybe other than Fike.
I think Fike was single A, actually.
Other than Fike, I think
also
everyone was
Northern
AA.
would have been single A, but they didn't make the playoffs.
They may have. Rocky Mount actually improving to AA because for years Rocky Mount was 3 single A when they won the playoffs. Last year, their first year back in a few years, they were in 3 AA. So it's definitely something to keep your eye on. And of course, the Eagles of Rocky Mount Academy, who I still feel are our best hope for a state championship in this area because they're already a win away from going there.
Yeah, pretty much. They will be taking on St. David's. They are the number 4 seed in the 8-man bracket. And basically, the weird thing is with this playoff system, the 8 teams in the playoffs are basically all 8 teams that Rocky Mount Academy has already played this year.
That's right. So we can go back and look. And earlier this season, the Griffons went to Griffons. Excuse
How dare you?
That was a subliminal.
The Capstone School strikes again.
A subliminal kick. Hey, I knew B.W. Holt as a Griffon coach for 6-7 years. The Eagles went to St. David's back in September and got a 60-42 victory. That was the week after you and I saw them.
Tight.
Yeah, you dropped 60 and it's tight if you want to call it tight. I'm looking for another Eagles win this week.
And then they would most likely either be playing Southampton or Parrott Academy.
They're 2 toughest games of the year.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and folks, also something we're going to check out. We're going to try to figure out where this state championship game is being held, and if the Rocky Mount Academy Eagles are there, we just might be there too.
Maybe.
Why not? We missed it last year. We can't miss it again this year. Last year was out of our control, so what anything we can do about it.
No.
All right, folks, so that is your look for next week. Ed, let's talk about this Crystal Clear Pepsi 6-pack. Let's update it.
All right, if you'll give me 1 second to pull up the Crystal Clear Pepsi 6-pack standings, which you can follow along with us, not just on the show, but on our Facebook page, facebook.com/theallnewsportshow.
Absolutely.
So that's where you can go to get those picks. Right now, heading into this week, there was a
A
three-way
Big East
tie.
style logjam.
It really was. It was a three-way tie at the top between yourself, our cameraman Clint Williams, and a good friend of the show, Tony Dowdy. I was a few picks back. However,
we know you picked up at least one.
I did pick up at least one because I was the only person who didn't pick the capstone school this week. I was the only one to pick Southern Nash, and I believe all of our other ones were the same except for one. If we go to the standings right now, and the picks, this picture will pop up here. I believe you had Fike.
Yes.
You got them. You had Hunt.
Yes.
You got them. You had Rocky Mount. Did not get them. Farmville Central.
Yep.
And North Edgecombe.
Yep.
So you are right now 4-1. So for spoilers, everybody, we're taping this on Saturday before the Georgia game.
Sorry.
So we're still waiting on Georgia, Florida.
But everybody picked Georgia.
Yes. So either you're going to be 5-1 or 4-2. Tony Dowdy, I believe, will be the same way because I believe you both had the same picks this year.
He copies me a lot.
Yes, even though he did his first.
Well, it happens.
But yes, he did have the exact same picks as you. Clint went out on a limb and took South Creek against North Edgecombe.
Silly
So
Clint.
he actually can.
The tie is broken.
So he can at best be 4-2 this week with the Georgia win. If Georgia does not win, he'll go 3-3. But he will fall a game back of both of you.
That's where he belongs.
I did pick up because of Southern Nash. I was 2 back, I believe, in this. I was 3 back in the standings. So I have made up 2 on Clint Williams. I'm only 1 back of him. Now I am only 2 back of Tony Dowdy and Wes Bradshaw. And as noted this week in the email, this will keep going until we have no high school teams left in the playoffs. Wow. So it could come to a sudden and abrupt end, much like the Japanese national anthem.
A favorite of all anthems that are not American, British, or French.
You like the French national anthem?
Yes.
Okay.
It's quite lovely. They gave us existentialism.
And the Statue of Liberty.
That's right.
It's true.
I've got like 3 things I want to say, but they're not quite TV.
Good. Then don't say them.
Exactly. I've learned that lesson this year.
Thank you.
And now I know. All right, folks, let's do a little flipperoo, and let's talk Battling Bishops football, folks. We are quickly coming to an end of the Battling Bishops football season. On November 15th, they will play their last home game, which we will be there in attendance, signing autographs. But once I go upstairs, folks, I only come down once, and that's to leave, so you better get me early or come up and see me. My autograph goes for only $5 a pop, but I may be giving it for half price that day.
Right now, we can go ahead and update. Wesleyan does look like they're going to be losing to Maryville College after the backbreaker last week, where they had a 10-point lead. I believe going to the final few minutes, they gacked it up. Currently losing to Maryville 42-28 with under 3.5 to play in the fourth quarter. So that looks like Maryville's going to get a win there. Also today, or Saturday, depending on when you're watching this, Wesleyan's women's volleyball team lost at Piedmont 3-1, but they did win at Methodist. So I guess that was in one site. I'm sorry, that was 2 days ago. So they won on Thursday at Methodist 3-2. So good on them. Women's soccer is going on right now. They're at the half against Piedmont, 0-0. Men's soccer is currently losing to Averett 2-1 in the second half. Still early on there, I guess.
Of course, we need to check our Wesleyan news and see who started at quarterback today for the Battling Bishops. Dustin Midget, of course, knocked out of last week's game when we were there, and that pretty much spelled the doom of the Battling Bishops against Methodist a week ago. That young man, if he's unable to go, Robbie Lanier, while he does have a lot of starts under his belt, just really not getting it done so much this season for the Bishops.
Also, today was the USA South Championship for women's cross country. We don't have results on that, unfortunately, at this time. Women's volleyball is currently in the midst of playing against William Peace. And then starting this next week is a lot of more USA South Championships, including for men's soccer and women's soccer and women's volleyball, all taking place in Martinsville, Virginia this Friday night, I believe. And if we take a quick look at the standings right now, Wesleyan with a loss against Maryville, who comes into this game at 4-1, will fall to 3-3 in conference play, 4-4 overall. And they still have one game before we check them out in 2 weeks for the final game against Huntington. Men's soccer right now at 8-2 in conference play, 12-5-1 overall. so they're doing really well. Women's soccer, pretty mid-table, but still doing good. 6-3-2 in conference play, 10-5-2 overall, good for 5th in the USA South as of right now. Women's volleyball, unfortunately, not doing so great. 6-12 overall, 7-20 overall, 6-10 in conference play. Women's cross country, we do not have anything on them, and that will do it for those sports. Again, football right now, I can actually check if you want me to. I can get the live stats, and we'll see who was the quarterback. We have nothing if not prepared for this.
Absolutely.
Yay! As the thing loads here.
When you're taped live, Ed.
It does look like Midget was playing.
Okay.
And Januzek, our favorite non-English player. He did have a 68-yard fumble return.
Non-English / Belgian / Kosovoan, who is not a soccer player.
Yeah.
Anyway, probably none of those things.
So yeah, actually, Wesleyan was actually up 14-7 early in the first quarter. Fell behind, but equalized at the half. Actually, 5 seconds before the half. Oh my goodness! Actually took that in for that fumble. So it was 21-21 at halftime. But it was all Maryville after that. Maryville scored 3 times in the third quarter, including a 46-yard interception return by Tyler Todd. They've gotten back. Wesleyan got back into the game with a touchdown early in the fourth quarter, but now it looks like there's a minute and a half to go. Wesleyan does have the ball, but still they are down 14. So that's probably going to do it.
Battling Bishops, like we said, folks, still some good football to come up for them. Another road trip next week, and then they finish their season at home. And we will be there for that one, and we're excited, as always. All right, Ed, at this time, how about we drop a little something on the people? Because every week, folks, we bring you a Krispy Kreme play of the game. It comes from our Friday night football game this week. To the victor go the spoils. To the victor go the sweet, sweet donuts. Let's hook it up for your Krispy Kreme hot play of the game. Krispy Kreme.
I love Krispy Kreme so much. They are so good and yummy to eat. And that's why they are the hot play of the game.
Just wait till next week's picture. Did you like when I rubbed your kitty earlier, Ed? Green looking to throw. Green pressure is next. Pick! Oh, God, he's got the sideline. He's got the sideline. Oh! Oh, me.
There was
number 42, Reed Harris, the senior linebacker, at the 1-yard line, picks that off.
Oh, that's not how that drive needed to end.
Trick or treat. Trick or treat here on Halloween Havoc.
Lee? Hi.
Folks, just for calls like that is why you should always watch the replays of the Friday night high school.
We take no
football game
pleasure.
every week. I take no pleasure. I just calls it like I see it. And when I thought he had the sideline, oh God, he had the sideline. That was pretty much the final nail in the coffin for Northern Nash on Friday night. That was at 35-0. First drive of the second half. Northern put together their best drive of the game. And Jacob Green got picked at the goal line. Reed Harris with a big return, and Fike was on their way at that point to going ahead and going to 3-1 and setting themselves up for this week's big showdown. Big showdown. Epic. All right, folks, so that was your Krispy Kreme hot play of the game. Tune in next week to see what is going to be the hot play of the game. We're going to have 2 games to choose the hot play from next week.
Yeah.
That's going to be really, really cool. 2 games to choose your hot play from next week for our regular season finale. All right, Ed, this week, now today it's cold, the wind's blowing, it's dingy outside, the Pirates lost, and so did Liverpool. So anyway, but earlier in the weekend, it was quite lovely.
Yes.
The sun was shining. The birds were still singing. They're probably all dead now.
Not the Ravens. The Ravens are
loving it. The Ravens are loving this weather. The Ravens love this weather. But, folks, we were given a glorious ray of sunlight. We will see number 3, Todd Gurley, back in a Georgia uniform this season after he serves 4 games after Johnny Football did the same thing and only missed a half, but whatever.
And he has to do 40 hours of community service because he's a criminal?
Sure. Whatever works. I guess he's going to tell kids not to try to make money off of what you do well.
Don't make that money.
No.
Just let the man make the money on top of you.
But hey, give him that Todd Gurley update.
Hey, Todd Gurley's going to come back in 2 weeks, and he will be back for Auburn. Oh man, maybe Georgia's last tough test. Again, as we mentioned earlier in the show.
Only playing Florida today.
Yeah, exactly. We are pre-taping this on Saturday afternoon. Right now, it is Georgia up 7-0 early on Florida. Nate Chubb filling in admirably. Another touchdown.
Just wait until you've got Nick Chubb and Todd Gurley to choose from.
Auburn won't know what hit them.
Remember, folks, the Dogs have unfinished business with the Auburn Tigers from a season ago. Auburn's magical run to the NCAA title game or BCS game, whatever the heck they were calling it then, now, no playoffs, I don't know, was really kept alive by a fortuitous bounce off of two Georgia defensive backs' hands into an Auburn wide receiver's hands, who ran it for a touchdown and stole the glory that day from what was a magical day for Todd Gurley. If we do so remember ourselves.
Yes.
And Todd will be back November 15th when he and Nick Chubb will form potentially the most dynamic duo in college football backfields. And they will rammer, jammer, yellow hammer.
Truly.
For all you Bammer fans, they're going to run it right down the throats of the Auburn Tigers.
Truly Gurren Lagann. Giga drill break!
I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
I'm excited. But as of right now, it is, at the time of taping, Georgia does have an early lead over the toothless Gator Nation.
Bunker.
Known as Florida.
Bunker mentality.
Get ready, folks, because if you lose Muschamp, you might get the bunker coming to town. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
It would be, actually.
So with that is your Todd Gurley update. And the last thing I have listed on my list, I can't say that on TV.
No.
Okay.
No.
It is almost time. It's time to go home. So, folks, from us here at the All New Sports Show, which, of course, is brought to you each and every week by Roger G. Taylor and Associates.
Yep.
He's Ed Green. Big thanks to our producer, Desmond McManus.
Of course. Doing great work.
And, of course, our technical operator. Whatever title you give him every week. I can't remember these things.
Producer.
Technical producer.
Yeah.
One name Lee.
There you go.
I'm Wes Bradshaw. We'll see you folks next week right here on the All New Sports Show on WHIG TV.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Cambodia.
Sure.
Pol Pot. Terrible man. WHIG TV.
Thank you, Loot Crate. Weird. Very weird.
Love those kitties.
Very odd, man.
I am. Oil next week, big guy.